Alright, so for this guide, I'm going to go over every single crosspath for all of the towers for Chimps standard. So we're not going to be doing anything fancy like for races and stuff. This is just going to be all based on Chimps, and I'll try to go through some of the more obvious ones more quickly. But for some of the more obscure ones or harder to understand towers, I'll try to go and explain it a little more. So the first tower we have is Dart Monkey. For the top path, we're going to want to get the 520. It works a lot better, and you get more Juggernaut balls. And range does not really help much, because normally the Juggernaut balls, they have a long lifespan and they can bounce everywhere, so that's pretty good. For the middle path, the Plasma Monkey Fan Club. The Crosspath does not really do much, especially if you're going to be trying to like spam the darts, but you would most likely want to Crosspath the razor sharp darts because it can help the buff when it's buffed. So let's just check this out. We'll see how much damage these two darts do with the Crosspath and without. So they're both super monkeys, and as you can see, this one's going way higher. So if you're going to be getting the fan club, you will want to get some cross paths for these guys, and that will just increase the total output. As you can see, it did a little over twice as much. So there we go. That is that. For the bottom path, Crossbow Master, you have two options. One increases the single target damage and overall damage. The other one increases pierce. The pierce on this one is quite high. So let's just send out a lot of ceramics. Those are super ceramics. I want normal ceramics. 80. Alright, let's just send out a ton of ceramics. Actually need to hit the button. So as you can see, it rips through them quite easily, and that's 100. Let's send it to more like a lot, and we'll do spacing of 0. So this is with the 205. And as you can see, it has a lot of pierce, so it goes up quickly. The 025 has much less, if I can get rid of that balloon. So if we send that big wave of ceramics again, the other time he did like 3 times as much. But in Chimps mode, getting these many, being able to use this much pierce is pretty unrealistic, so most of the time I do 025. For the boomerang, top path got changed recently, so this guy can hit the DDTs, but the mid path cannot. Why is it still set it? Okay, this is a little scuffed. But so this guy, you need bottom path to affect the DDTs, which makes it this path more viable in most situations. But if you already have an MIB or planning to get an MIB, it would be better to get the mid path. Moving on for permacharge, it's kind of the same deal with the Dart Monkey for these two guys. Top path increases pierce, bottom path increases damage. Both are a significant buff, but unlike the Crossbow Master, this guy does not really have a significantly large amount of pierce to start with, so I would usually go for the top path instead of the bottom path, because the bottom path really has a butchered amount of pierce, and unless you're trying to only have single target with this guy, it's not really worth it. The bottom one is the Moab Domination, and usually I just get the mid path. There's again is a pierce difference between the two, especially on higher denser rounds, but once you have this guy, instead of just focusing on pushing back, this guy does do a lot of damage, and you get a lot of benefit out of having the faster rings. So now on to bomb. Top path, this one's pretty obvious, faster attack speed. Bottom doesn't really do much. Mid path also pretty obvious, heavy bombs. We get a pretty big bonus to the main attack with that. And bottom path this one is where it gets a little funky. So for tier 3, or tier 4, I mean, you want this way because it has a much better effect on the lower damage bombs. You increase the damage of the low damage bombs, so it's higher overall. So it goes from, like, just for example, say 1 to 2 and there's 6 of them, so that increases by 12. But for this guy, the damage of the base bomb is already very high, so you're not getting a higher percentage from increasing the damage of them, but you're getting the raw attack speed increase when you go middle. So that means that overall, when the damage is higher already, the middle path is better because it's always the set value increase instead of depending on how much there already is base, which means for tier 5, you want to go middle path, and for tier 4, you want to go top path. Also, I should have mentioned this for the middle one. Mob maulers is often very common, and the main strategy, this is a little bit deviated, but the main strategy for your mob maulers is you get 3 in the middle, and you get the primary mentoring, so you get this one free. If you're just using the tier 3 mob mauler, or even the mob assassin, spending the $700 to get this one isn't worth it unless you have primary expertise. So moving on to the attack shooter. Attack shooter, these ones are pretty simple. Top path, it's another range pierce issue. Ninja QE has loved to do this recently. Bigger range, so kind of more overall damage for this guy, and more pierce on the bottom side. Most of the time I'd prefer the range for that guy. And you can also out buff it so the projectiles get more pierce anyways that come out of the top, the meteor ones. Blade Maelstrom, Crosspath really does not matter. And for the attack zone, you want to just do top. It's pretty obvious for that one. Ice Monkey, so actually I want to start with top. Top path, in late game you get 5-0-1, but in normal chimps always 5-2-0, so you get more debuff. Middle path, so this one's interesting. You either want to slow down the ceramics by getting refreeze, so they get locked, like so, or you want to be able to have the permafrost on the mobs, so the mobs get slowed a little more. So it just depends on what you're trying to use this guy for. If you're trying to just stop and slow down ceramics, you want to get bottom. If you want to have a higher effect on the mobs, you want to get top. Impale is also kind of the same situation. You get more damage and attack speed out of the bottom, but you get the permafrost from the top. Some people like the top more than the middle, but I kind of find that the middle path is different from the top, but people will argue for either one. So kind of just test whatever you like more. Glue, for the top path, you always want to get the bottom path because the Bloon Solver has massive pierce and you get the higher slow on this guy, which helps a lot for super ceramics, especially on the shorter maps. Mid path, a lot of people don't know this, but this glue gunner right here, every affected balloon takes +1 damage. So let's see, this monkey right here, 0-0 dart. I want to send a ceramic, please send the ceramic. All right, it got the 2 damage. Okay, let's just check this out. 1 damage a shot, 2 damage, and then I'm going to all right, that was failed. So as you can see, this one right here, each shot takes 1 damage, but if we put another one over here and we use Blue Storm ability, this guy's going to do 2 per level. So because of that, we want to get the top path because that will allow it to affect Moabs, and you can get the debuff on the Moabs. If you don't, you won't get the debuff on the Moabs, and it's a lot worse. Bottom one, you want mid path just for more pierce. He's not like the Bloon Solver, so that's that. Now onto the military sniper. For the main mob and cripple mob, you either want to get the grouped or the perma lock thing. So this guy focuses on one Moab, and this guy will do a bunch more, but this guy can lock in place the Moab while this guy can't. So it depends what you want. Do you want more mobs affected or one locked in place? Mid path, you want to cross top path, just makes more sense. And bottom path, you either want the being able to affect many, which is usually better, or you can have higher single target, which is not better most of the time, but sometimes the higher single target can be used. Subs, top path you want to do bottom, the pulse is much faster. Cross path for the middle path sub actually kind of depends on the map. If you're doing a ballistics, if the map is shorter and it's more condensed, like Flooded Valley, bottom path does a lot better. But if it's kind of longer and more stretched out, top path can be better. But so it really depends on the map you're playing on for that one. And bottom path sub you want to go. For boats. For the destroyer, you definitely want grape shot. Hot shot. It's not needed, but sometimes it can help a bit. Sometimes it can make a difference, and you always want to carry that through with the aircraft carrier. And flagship, the grape shot is generally better because you can just throw on camo, and the range does not do much. For middle path, I would go double shot so we get the more grapes and stuff. Not matter. Okay, ace. We got top path. We want to do 501 or 502, depending if you want to use the center path. If you aren't going to use it, it's not worth to get the center path, but it is worth it to get the extra pierce upgrade. Bottom path, you want to get the rapid fire so you get more bombs, unless you're going to be doing some crazy micro, which I doubt you are. And the bottom path, we're going to want to get rapid fire and lots more darts for the pierce and attack speed with that. To heli, faster darts and faster firing, that's pretty obvious. Mid path, we want to get the faster darts and faster firing as well, because it buffs the marine, which is pretty cool. And for the bottom path, we want to get quad darts and pursuit, because that obviously does more damage. Mortars, let's go on. This one's pretty obvious. You get the faster firing. You also get bigger blasts for this one, so the main attack does a lot more damage. And faster reload for the Bloons incineration, so you get more of the wall of fires being spawned. Now this one's one that not many people know of. For the MAD, you want to get the top path. But most of the time, only go one, because laser shock is a waste of 100k, and I'll show you why. So here we go. Let's get rid of this. The MAD is shooting its missile things. Now it's Easter eggs, but that in kind of a straight line. And this is what happens if you do get focus firing. Look how focused they are, even though that does not look focusing. But look how not focused it is when you don't get it. They just go everywhere, and you lose a lot of damage that way. Alright. Oh, I forgot Ray of Doom. You want mid path. And for the Bez, you want to get the faster barrel spin, so you get more of the Bez things coming out. Onto Wizard. Archmage, you can get the Wall of Fire or the Intense Magic. Intense Magic gets more pierce, so I use it more often, but there are some scenarios where the Wall of Fire is a better cross path with the Arcane Spike, because you don't really need all of the pierce in like a mid-game scenario, and Wall of Fire in general is actually really useful. For the Wizard Phoenix, does not really matter, but I'll usually just get camo because that is useful if I have it, and it buffs the Wall of Fire a little bit. And for bottom path, I'll usually do Wall of Fire, but sometimes you want to get the other path so it can see over walls, but that's a very rare situation. Alright, super cross paths. For the mid path, I'm starting at mid path because why not? 250 plasma's much better. For the Sun Avatar, you want to get the 302, but all temples cross path with range. And then for the bottom path as well, all of them Crosspath Plasma. For ninjas, 502, the Seeking is very, very good. Mid-path Crosspath does not matter. And for bottom one, I will go 105 or 205. Okay, for Alchemist, top path, no Crosspath, does not matter. Middle one, I'll get the faster throwing for the unstable concoction if you're getting a 031. And bottom one, you can go for the larger pots if you want to get the higher splash radius, especially for like the rubber to gold and lead to gold stuff. But I would not get acidic mixture dip because that really does not do anything. And now for the Crosspaths for tier 4, you have 4 options. You can either get no Crosspath, mid, or faster firing. So what's the difference? So the no Crosspath is better if you have a slow attacking tower that kind of just slugs it out, and it's only buffing that. So as you can see, this guy, full uptime with only this one Alchemist, no money wasted on the Crosspath, and he's getting full uptime. So we don't need a Crosspath all the time, so that's a reason for that. The 420, you get more buffs. Not more buffs, more shots. That's a common misconception. The strength of the brew itself is not stronger, but you just get more shots. So if we have a fast attacking tower, this would be more effective because it would have a higher uptime on it. And then for the other one, this is one that you want multiple on because it will instead be focusing on one, giving it more uptime. It would be giving many targets more uptime. So if we have like a sub army, so we have a few subs down here, we would want the 401 because it will allow the Alch to buff more of these, although the brew won't last as long on each one. We'll have them up on like 3 or 4. So that's that. Now on to Druid. Most of the time you'd be using Druid with Oban, which makes the 015 better. You usually don't need Heart of Oak for it. That's usually just a waste of money, so I don't get it. Superstorm Crosspath, I'll go for the range most of the time. You get a little bit more range, and with the Heart of Vengeance you can get an attack speed buff. Much better than like the tiny amount of damage increase. And Spirit of the Forest Crosspath does not matter. Alright, Banana Farm. You don't use these in chimps, but I'm going to go over them anyways. Top path, go with middle, that's obvious. Middle path, go with top, that's obvious. And with MK versus without MK, this is better without, this is better with. Alright, that was that. Spike Factory, this one's pretty obvious for all of them. That, and that. But if you want to have, if you're in a particular map, most of these maps are on harder difficulties, 402 might be better because the spikes will go in the concentrated area, although a majority of maps don't do this, and if you're playing those maps, you probably know that already. Village. So the thing about Village is that crosspaths don't matter. You can either pick and choose what buffs you want. You can get the discounts, you can get the range, you can get the camo if you want. The only thing where it does matter is this, where we want to get more range so we can affect more farms and we can consume more. Other than that, it really does not matter. And then for engineer, last one, for the top path, you can go for the pin, which will stop ceramics. This is more useful on the Sentry Expert, but if you're going Paragon, you can get the larger service area and deconstruction, and this should apply over to these sentries. Let's just get rid of these sentries because they're distracting me. For mid-path, cross-path does not matter, but if you're using foam, you can get the faster engineering for more foam, and also I believe the other path makes the foam last longer. But if you're just doing overclock, crosspath does not matter. And for the bottom path, we want to get the Sentry and Faster Engineering because it will allow you to use more traps. And that is all of the cross paths. If I missed anything, just let me know because I probably did, and I'm bad at the game.